In case you missed it, this week on It's a Wonderful Podcast. On Monday, we had a brand new episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen TV, where we continued our series Discovering Dawson's Creek, and closing out season 4, talking Coda. On the episode, we paid tribute to the late James Van Der Beek, the emotional weight of the episode, and what Morgan thinks he might see in season 5. So I hope you'll check out this week's episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen TV, Discovering Dawson's Creek, which we will be taking a break from and rotating in a new show. But all our TV-based stuff, diving into Doctor Who, babbling about Bridgerton, and more can be found every Monday on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel and It's a Wonderful podcast feed. Then on Wednesday, we had a brand new episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen, closing out our 90s rom-com series with Sleepless in Seattle. We get into Tom Hanks's rom-com status, the structure of this film having our two leads not have a ton of screen time together, and more. So I do hope you'll check out this week's episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen, talking Sleepless in Seattle, and find new episodes of Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed. Then on Friday, we had a brand new episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast, closing out our Black Cinema series with Truck Turner. We get into the original plan for this film, Nichelle Nichols playing against type, Isaac Hayes' acting debut, and more. So I do hope you'll check out this week of our Classic Films podcast, talking Truck Turner, and find new episodes of It's a Wonderful Podcast every Friday on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed. Coming up next week, on Monday, we'll have a brand new episode of Morgan/Janine Hasn't Seen TV, as we'll be back diving into Doctor Who, as we continue our journey into the 10th Doctor season, finally talking episode 1 of series 2, New Earth, and episode 2, Tooth and Claw. Then on Wednesday, we'll have a brand new episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen, kicking off our March series, talking the films of David Lynch, with 1977's Eraserhead. Then on Friday, we'll also have a brand new episode of our Classic Films podcast, It's a Wonderful Podcast, jumping into our March series over there, Ida Lupino Directs. And we'll be kicking that series off with 1950s Outrage. Also keep a lookout sometime next week for our bonus podcast episode, where we'll be sharing your answers to our February podcast questions. And the weekly podcast questions can always be found on our socials, so do check them out and share your answers there if you want to appear on the next bonus podcast episode. I do hope you'll check out everything we had going on this week on It's a Wonderful Podcast, and we'll see you next week for more.